President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has not prepared himself enough to lead and govern the country. Although he has been in active politics for more than 40 years, the main opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, Secretary for Greater Accra Region, Victor Korshi-Addo has stated. According to Mr. Korshi-Addo, there is total display of unpreparedness in the way President Akufo-Addo conducts himself on issues of national interest as he fumbles with leadership issues during his swearing-in ceremony as well as the presentation of the State of Nations Address, SONA. He mentioned what he described as image-denting falsehoods in the president's SONA, the 2017 budget statement, and alleged plagiarization in his inaugural speech as some of the negatives that show the unpreparedness of the president. The image of Ghana's reputation and future of this country is at jeopardy. The president's appearance and demeanor must be looked at. There is a total display of unpreparedness in the way he conducts himself in the issues of the nation's forward move, Mr. Korshi-Addo said in a statement copied to Minsk.com. The NDC Greater Accra Regional Secretary also claimed the Akufo-Addo administration is so incompetent that it has contracted foreigners to manage the economy for the next 6 months. Having cajoled the people of Ghana into believing that they have the men, they have quietly outsourced the management of the country to McKinsey & Company. The McKinsey Group is a global management that serves business, governments and non-governmental agencies with branches located in Europe and Middle East, Central and South America and some parts of Africa. Mr. Korshi-Addo claimed. This is what the president said: "I have noted with great pain and sorrow as a Ghanaian, the bizarre development in this new government being led by Nana Addo. This though majority of Ghanaians seem to be flowing with, without thinking about the medium and long-term consequences. I think it matters to awake Ghanaians to do the critical thinking of where we are heading to. The image of Ghana's reputation and future of this country is at jeopardy. The president's appearance and demeanor must be looked at. There is a total display of unpreparedness in the way he conducts himself in the issues of the nation's forward move. This should not be said of someone who started the bid to be a president for the past 40 years. Rationally, he should not be seen fumbling with leadership issues. For a president like Nana, who has been in the mills for president for these number of years, to plagiarize an inaugural speech without citing his references or acknowledging the original authors of the speech is unprofessional. And the shame this has brought to all the citizens of this country is indecorous. That will forever remain in history for generations and generations hereafter to read of. What have we done to a president in this 21st century to cause us this harm? This is a clear question of unpreparedness of the president and his team or handlers. Consistent of his unpreparedness, I was surprised for a president amass all the bravado, stood before the House of Parliament to present his maiden State of the Nation address, declaring, "I come before you today in fulfillment of the constitutional obligation that the President of the Republic gives a message to Parliament on the state of the nation at the beginning of Parliament session," a clear indication of his unpreparedness. It would be recalled that barely 47 days before Nana Addo's presentation of the State of the Nation's address was a presentation of same from the outgoing President John Dramani Mahama, which I believe many well-thinking Ghanaians were looking out to measure the correlation between the two sonas. Nana Addo, when he was in opposition, refused to take awe of understanding over the awe of ignorance, hence his consistency to build lies upon lies even in government. Mr. President's sona was purposed to continuously throw dust into the eyes of Ghanaians in a bid to justify his incapability to deliver on his promises to Ghanaians. He resorted to lies and blame game foundation on a government who managed same economy that sustained him and his invisible forces, all this while when he was in opposition. Liars, they say, need to have good memories. The president must have good memories of what he promised Ghanaians. He must have good memories of how he chastised his predecessors. President Akufo-Addo must have good memories of how he boasted of having the competent men. Now that he is called to duty to deliver with his competent men, he stood before Ghanaians to declare the economy is bad. This declaration by the president, who claimed all competency with the men, is in itself a gross display of incompetence. In academia, competent people don't perceive situations as bad. Challenging could be a better choice for competent people in describing situations. I wouldn't know what he would have said about the economy if he was to meet it the way his senior, Kufra, and his team left it in 2008. Unprepared Akufo-Addo running away from the fact that he is not adept with the facts and figures about the economy. He quickly made a cover-up by saying he wouldn't like to bore Ghanaians with figures, so the rest he did was to, as usual, plagiarize his vice Bawumia-cooked economic figures. If the President Akufo-Addo indeed has the competent men as he claimed, why the NPP will outsource the management of this nation, just barely 2 months into the administration of President Akufo-Addo's government? It is clear for persons with vision to say without any shred of doubt that the NPP government will be gasping for air. Having cajoled the people of Ghana into believing that they have the men, they have quietly outsourced the management of the country to McKinsey & Company. The McKinsey Group is a global management that serves business, governments and non-governmental agencies with branches located in Europe and Middle East, Central and South America and some parts of Africa. A call to their London branch, +44, 2078,398,040, located at No. 1 German Street, confirms that Ghana have outsourced the management of the country to them for a period of 6 months. This is done because of manpower restrictions. It is known that the NPP have in the space of 2 months in power sacked some new police recruits, 8,634 health recruits, and others other had happened immediately they assumed office. But people have a different opinion. A few days ago, the finance minister, in accordance with the constitutional provisions of our country, presented their first budget to the state. It is worth noting that the so-called Asimpa budget has nothing good to offer Ghanaians. The content of the budget was full of religious bigotry, lies, and hopelessness. This is a clear-cut indication that the NPP government rode on the back lies and propaganda to gain political power. The deceitful nature of the Nana Addo-led government should be a worry to all Ghanaians. It is very shocking and disheartening for the NPP to make a U-turn on their free SHS promise made to unsuspecting Ghanaians during the electioneering period. After telling Ghanaians that their children will go to school free, the finance minister during the budget presentation made a sudden U-turn by emphasizing that only first-year students of SHS will benefit from the highly touted educational package. Again, this government promised Ghanaians that there will be significant reduction in electricity tariffs and transportation fares through the removal of the energy sector levy, removal of import duties on raw materials and machinery for production, reduction in drivers' insurance levies and cost of license. But can same be said of the 419 budget presented by the Honorable Finance Minister? The thousands of well-meaning Ghanaians can attest to these facts and judge for themselves. The least said about the discriminatory tax removals the better. A national budget is supposed to be fair, just, and benefit all Ghanaians irrespective of their creed, political colorations or social status, but to satisfy one group of taxpayers at the expense of other groups is highly unfair. The deceitful nature of which the NPP government scraped the negligible KIA, head potters, market toll at the expense of other traders is highly discriminatory. This was done purposely to score cheap political points. Barely 2 months after assuming office, the SAD has deprecated tremendously against the major currencies, especially the dollar, which is now exchanged at $4.61. In the same vein, fuel prices have gone up for 4 consecutive times in just 2 months. I want to state unequivocally that this NPP government should not take Ghanaians for granted because they, Ghanaians, have done no wrong voting for them to steer the affairs of our great nation Ghana. The budget, which was to entice and give hope to Ghanaians, remained a mirage and unattainable. The fact is that you cannot successfully govern a middle-income country with lies and vile propaganda, for there could be dire consequences if you go on that tangent. I am by this release calling on the Nana Addo-led NPP government to come clear and do the honorable thing by telling Ghanaians the truth, that after all they have lied their way to power and that most of their promises are not doable. I am therefore calling on civil society groups to speak to the budget and demand clarification on the source of funding for key sectors of the economy because the minister was very economic.